When Richard Hammond reviewed the Fiesta ST Mark 7 on Top Gear, he pitted it against the Clio RS200 and the Peugeot 208 GTI, and he was blown away by the performance of all three of them. But there was only one winner. The Mark 7 ST was leaps and bounds ahead of its competition. But just how good is it over a decade on? Well, my name's Josh, and if you're new here, first of all, welcome. Second of all, if you enjoy videos such as reviews on this Fiesta ST, feel free to maybe like the video and subscribe for more reviews in the future. But anyway, the Fiesta ST, this is everything that you need to know. It's powered by a 1.6 litre turbo petrol engine, pushing out 180 brake horsepower to the front wheels. Now, although it's a turbo, it has hardly any turbo lag. It races through the gears and it prompts you to change gear quite quickly. And when you do change gear, it's a really pleasant experience. The 6-speed gearbox is phenomenal. It's not cheap and mechanical, and the pedals are perfectly spaced out so that you can heel and toe if you're capable. It's everything a hot hatch should be: light, nimble and playful. The chassis is quite literally a work of art. It holds the road so well. The suspension setup is just like an absolute dream. You get hardly any roll through the corners, and this is even in standard form, which is quite rare for a hot hatch really. The exterior styling of the Mark 7 ST is quite simply gorgeous in my opinion. I know these cars get a bad rap because of the people that drive them, but if we just take all of that away and look at this car at face value, it is such a good looking car. It's a 2015 car, and I think for its time, it looks really quite futuristic. Nice lines on the bonnet here, a little bit of a bulge in the middle as well, and you've got a lovely honeycomb style grille and a little white ST badge on this one. And I think this lower bumper design here is really quite smart, and I don't really think it needs one of those aftermarket TRC performance splitters or whatever they are. I think as it is perfect. Now, looking at it from the side, you can be easily mistaken for thinking that this is just a normal Fiesta, but I don't think that's a bad thing really. The normal Fiesta does have a beautiful, lovely design from the side. It slopes quite nicely and it's very sporty as well. Key differences of the ST over the normal car include these different alloy wheels, which I do quite like the design of actually. I probably wouldn't have had them in black, but that's personal preference. And you've got keyless entry, which isn't very common on normal Fiestas. You've also got an extended side skirt down there, which I think looks really smart actually. On that keyless entry, you might realise, if you're from the UK, that this is one of the most commonly stolen cars on UK roads, purely because there's actually a thing that if you go through the boot, the alarm isn't activated when you go through the boot. So people can get through there and they can keyless start it using some fancy technology, I assume, and off they go. And no one can catch you in an ST either, because they are that fast. From the back, there is no denying that these Fiestas do look brilliant anyway, but the ST includes a bit of an extended roof spoiler, and you've got a different rear diffuser design with sort of space for the dual tailpipes as well. This car, because it's an ST3, has got rear parking sensors as well. But one of the previous owners actually fitted it with these automatic struts, which are a bit of a gimmick really, but they are quite useful, and you can reveal the cavernous boot space, which for a hot hatch of this size is actually quite decent. Now, you might have heard of the term BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation, get your mind out of the gutter, but have you ever heard of BBW? Big Blue Wang. And this Big Blue Wang is very necessary on a car like this because it does 0 to 60 in a blistering 6.9 seconds. But how close can I get it to that claim figure? It's as much about my driving ability as it is about the car. I'm going to flash up a timer here and we can get going. So 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, lots of wheel spin. 40. That's 60. I think that was quite good. I think that attempt was quite good actually. There was a lot of spin off the line, but I'm going to blame that on the fact that it's quite cold today and the tyres are quite cold. But let me know down in the comments and roast me for my launch there, because it probably wasn't very good, but I'm quite happy with it. I've got really mixed opinions on the interior of this ST. These seats, though they look great, I do feel like you sit a little bit high up for my liking. I like to be all the way on the floor so it feels a bit more sporty. These feel a little bit pedestrian, if I'm honest. And though they're really good for holding you in place when you're driving in a sporty manner, they do feel a little bit restrictive for day-to-day driving. The standard infotainment screen on these Fiestas is, I'm going to put it simply, naff. However, this one's got an aftermarket one. Call me fussy, but I hate that one too. It's so in the way of your eye line when you drive, and it just looks a little bit ugly compared to the rest of the interior. This car is the ST3, which means it's top spec. It's got things such as heated seats, it's got rear sensors, it's also got folding mirrors as well, and it's definitely the one to have. The lower down specs just feel poverty, for lack of a better word, so you definitely want the range topping ST3. There's a very simple metric that you can use when you're trying to figure out how good a car is this. If you're smiling ear to ear, then it's obviously a very good car, and driving this Fiesta ST Mark 7, I cannot help but beam ear to ear. It's proper back to basics hot hatchery. It torque steers when you get on it a little bit, but some would argue that the turbo ruins it and it doesn't make it a proper hot hatch. I think that that's absolute blasphemy. And an honourable mention for that traction control system. It's so intelligent and it's great. It gives you a little bit of slip just before swooping in and saving you from that inevitable head-on collision with a pole. Speaking of head-ons with poles, I'm going to hand you over to resident chief of crashing Fiesta STs into poles, my cameraman, Mr. Daniel Oliver. Over to you, Dan.
Thanks, Josh. Call me Santa, how I be in these poles. Now, popping up on the screen here, you can see my old beloved Mark 8 ST3, which unfortunately I crashed into a pole at 30 miles per hour.
It was not 30. It was so much faster than 30.
Which unfortunately was crashed into a telephone pole going around 60 miles per hour. So it's fair to say I have the experience talking about this car. The first thing I noticed about this car is the handling. It is about as tight as...
Right, we're going to cut that out, that is not staying in.
It feels very connected to the road. You can feel the road underneath you, and you feel like you have full control over this car. Now, I slightly mentioned earlier about how stiff the handling was. However, these cars really grip the road. Going around a corner, you could feel like you could take at any speed. However, nothing over 60 on a sharp bend, or else this will happen. And the one thing that I fell in love with having a Fiesta, I had one twice by the way, is that these cars are the perfect balance between being a bit too quick, but also being legal to the point where you can use all the power on the roads. This car is about 180 horsepower, and you can put your foot down and you can be pinned back in your seat, but you can do that around every single bend and it feels great. Unlike having an S3, for example, where you can only put your foot down for a split second and then you're getting 6 points on your license.
I'm stood here just eating my chocolate bar, which gave me a thought. If you have a Fiesta ST and you don't drive it like an absolute prat, on a motorway stint you can expect upwards of 40 mpg to save you money to buy more chocolate bars, which is a win for anyone really. In terms of rear practicality and space, this ST is really an absolute joke. I am by no means a tall human being. This seat is in my position. I'm 5'10", and my knees are literally crushing the driver's back. And when I sit up straight, I'm touching the roof. I know these cars aren't meant to be spacious in the back, but I feel like it could be a bit better than this because I'm struggling right now. This is horrible. Now, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you'll know that usually we do a Mackey's drive-through test, but it's absolutely rammed for some reason. It's literally 20 to 2 on a, what day is it? It's like a Wednesday? A Wednesday? I don't know. But it's a Wednesday at just after 1 and it is rammed. So instead of that, we are going to go to the natural habitat of a Fiesta driver, which is parked up in the Mackey's car park, showing off your car to your mates. Bro, everyone's definitely looking at us like we're so cool.
Hey, yo, bring me your vape still.
Bro, I haven't got my vape on me, bro. So, was Richard Hammond right 10 years ago about the Fiesta ST? Well, short answer, I completely agree with him. This car is brilliant. And despite what you think of the demographic that might usually drive a Fiesta ST and hang around in a Mackey's car park like you saw earlier, there's no denying that it is a very capable and really well-driven hot hatch. Now, that 1.6 turbo engine is nothing short of a masterpiece. It revs all the way round to the red line every single time you put your foot down. It is such a joy to drive and you can't help but smile. So if you've enjoyed my review of the Fiesta ST Mark 7, then please feel free to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. Please, I need your support. As a small creator, we need everything that we can get. And I'll catch you in the next video where we'll probably film something a lot more powerful than this Fiesta ST. Thank you for watching.